So, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I am
You're welcome.
I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you today. So, for everybody that's listening, we're talking with Whitney Schmidt today. She's an amazing loan originator, and if you've ever been anyone that's worked with her, you know that she will go above and beyond to help you. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like today, and then maybe also get to learn some fun facts about Whitney. You ready?
Okay.
So let's start with the beginning so everybody can get a feel. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into your current, uh, career path, and then maybe a little bit about what you like to do.
Yeah. So fell into this, and I truly say fell because this was not 10 years ago in at all an ideal career for me, but fell into this about 2 years ago. Prior to that was just hospitality and tourism management with a mix of accounting, did a little bit of property management, and just over the course of the last 10, maybe 15 years, kind of just realized what I liked and what I didn't. And I realized that after buying a house, that the lending was exactly what I needed to do. It accommodated my drive for going above and beyond, as you mentioned.
Yep.
With hospitality, of course, customer service and not working your 9 to 5 job. As we all know, this is a around the clock position.
Yeah, it can be
Buying
for sure.
houses, yes, buying houses never stops. I don't care if it's at night, morning, a holiday, your birthday. It always happens.
Sure.
Um, and and yeah, and I truly just said, get me in the door, get me the interview, and I'll take it from there. And I did.
There you go. Took the bull by the horns and rode that thing 8 seconds flat.
I sure did.
So, you said hospitality. Where did you work in the hospitality industry? What did you do?
Um, Started in serving and bartending. Um, Through college, many internships with hotels, front desk. I was a bellhop, uh, housekeeper, supervisor,
So you've done everything that you could imagine to make somebody else's
ballet.
vacation great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you feel like do you feel like doing that job, doing all those internships, learning how to do all the service industry stuff, and let's be honest, humbling yourself to clean rooms, take out trash, like do you feel like that was something that helps you in what you're doing now, or what do you use from that career to build off on what you're doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say when you do the grunt work, when you do the dirty jobs, when you work for tips or 100% commission, you don't realize what working for that dollar means until you do it. And you are the only one that can do it. So, yes, a combination of all of those jobs. I sold cars for a while, so I truly was 100% commission. Um, Gave me that thick skin, that alligator skin, to be in a position of sales and being told no and being put up against competitors and constantly being said, you know, hey, they're doing this, what can you do? Hey, you know, they're doing this, what can you do? Or what are you going to do for me? Or, you know, whatever it may be. Thinking outside the box, overcoming objection, working 10 and 12 and 14-hour days, but knowing that if nobody else is going to do it, and if I'm not going to do it, I'm
Well,
not going to be
it's lonely at the top. The reason it's lonely at the top is because when you work so hard to attain that level in any career path that you choose, you're lonely up there because there's not a lot of people that are willing to do the work to get where you're at. But what they're trying to do is claw at you and pull you down, right?
successful.
Anything that they can say to go against that. So I know that there's something we've talked about in the past that you do that I think separates you from other originators just based off of your background of knowing that you did hospitality injury, you serviced people, you made sure that they had good experiences, you made sure that their needs were met. So I know that you've
Mhm.
taken that into another area, that you help people that are looking to buy a house. You want to talk a little bit about that today, about like how do you help people? And it's always the ones that come and say, I don't have good credit. Everybody says that. I think a lot of people are embarrassed to do it, but I found that you're one of the few that's like, hey, let me talk to you, see what I can do to help you, and not just go ghost. You never hear
Mhm.
from the lender again. And then you got to tell the person, yeah, that probably means no. But I think
Mhm.
that you do it different. So I'd like to hear about just how you do that, and why, and what it makes you, how it makes you feel to know that you've helped somebody go from thinking there's no hope to getting a set of keys and taking a photo and being happy at the closing table.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, you definitely hit the nail on the head. So I enjoy breaking down that uncomfort level, that barrier, that one conversation that prevents a buyer from wanting to talk to a lender solely on the fact that they have horrible credit, they filed bankruptcy, they had somebody take their identity, they maxed out cards when they were in college and never got to pay them back, they're in collections, they had, you know, on and on and on. I enjoy talking to them and reassuring them that they're human. This is life. It's
Yeah.
okay, right? Like,
We live in
it's okay.
America. Everybody, for the most part, has done what you've done, or there's a ton of people in America in your position. You are not alone.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And, I always tell them, and this really, I think, kind of solidifies why I do what I do for those that I do it for, is it is hard on the other line, never meeting me before, and talking about their most vulnerable situation of, I have a 400 credit score and I don't know what to do, and therefore I'm just not going to do anything. And I will absolutely say, no, we're going to do something about it. We're
Hmm.
going to look at it together. We're going to work together. We're going to have a game plan and we're going to execute it. And it's
Hmm.
not going to happen overnight, just like these scores didn't happen overnight. It took time and missing payments and maxing out cards, or whatever it may be. This isn't going to happen overnight. And as long as you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. And as long
Sure.
as you hear what I have to say, and I'm there guiding you and walking you through it, and holding your hand through it, I'm willing if you are. And
Yeah.
normally I'll get the yay or the nay.
So
And
before the pandemic hit, right? Like when, I mean, everything is on the computer, it's on the telephone, it's through what we're doing right now. Like I mean, you're not hardly doing a lot in person. There's still a really
mhm,
huge benefit to getting to know the person that you are working with. But
mhm,
before the pandemic, were you still mostly talk? I would imagine you're still talking to these people on the phone, right? They're not normally wanting to reach out and walk into an office and go and look at someone in the face and go, "Hey, I got a 400. What can you do for me?" Has it always been like on the phone, or have you had the opportunity to work with people like one on one and show them stuff and do those things? Because I know you work
oddly enough,
nationwide.
it's always over the phone,
Yeah,
even pre-COVID,
that's
even
what I was thinking.
pre-pandemic. Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, I got it
Um,
right. It's a really embarrassing moment for you to go, man, I really don't want to rent because I'm making that guy's credit look good. And I really want to own my own house. But through whatever happened, either you didn't care, either you lost a job, divorce, all of a sudden you had triplets, right? It's things happen to where, like, oh my God, we can't afford it. And so once you get to that point, I'm sure it's like that's one of those things where you got to overcome those fears, right? I gotta
yeah.
just understand that I need to rip the band-aid off, right? So that's what I want everybody to know that's listening today. If you're in this situation, just rip off the band-aid. Ask
Yeah.
somebody what they can do to help you. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you talk to someone like Whitney, who's like, hey, I'm here to help you if you want to get help. You just said that earlier. Like, if you're willing, I'm willing. I'm going to tell you right
Mhm.
now, there is very few people in the mortgage industry that are willing to do that.
Yeah.
I know it for a fact because it's not the easiest route. It does take a long time sometimes, and it requires patience on the other end to just understand that these people may get angry, they may get upset, they may be very emotional, right? This is going to be a long process. And so
Mhm.
it's very admirable that that's how you approach it, like you take a long time sometimes to do these things. So I think everybody listening needs to know there's one phone call to make, right?
Yep.
There you
Yep.
go. So what is the normal timeline? Let's say somebody has like horrible credit in their mind. Let's say they need to work on some things. Let's say that there's a lot of things that they can do. In your experience, what is about the average time, if you have a really low credit score, that it takes to really truly get it to the point where you can purchase? Now I know everybody's situation is different because
Hmm.
I'm not talking like what's the average time for bankruptcy? What's the average time for foreclosure, right?
Sure.
But like if they just have missed payments, and a lot of us, that's what it is. We've missed some payments. We maxed out a credit card. We couldn't afford to do it. We bought that car that we really loved. Unfortunately, I probably shouldn't, right? So
Hmm.
in those situations where it's basic stuff like that, because everything is unique when you get into those other scenarios, what's the average amount of time it takes you to help someone get to a point where they're like that light is bright at the end of the tunnel?
Hmm. I would have to put like a 5 to 9 month time frame.
Hmm.
Um, and the reason I kind of do that instead of 3 to 6 months or 9 to 12 months, because a lot of the time it may just be paying something off, getting a letter from that collection agency or that creditor,
Hmm.
submitting it to the bureaus, and within 30 to 60 days, we start seeing those scores go up. Or it could be something as simple as going and getting approved for your first credit card. Well, that alone takes 3 months because of applying, charging, first statement, and then now we're into the third month. Is that credit card now reporting to the bureaus? It doesn't happen immediately. And I think that a lot of people in general, when they pay something off, when they get a card, when they get an auto loan, or when they're getting added as an authorized user, they think it happens instantaneously, and it doesn't.
Hmm.
And so it has to go by months. And that's why the 5 to 9 month, depending on the
Yeah.
extensiveness, I would say is a safe credit repair. That doesn't necessarily mean they're closing in 9 months. That just means we're at a position to
Right,
get
right,
them
right.
approved. Yep.
So you said something interesting just now that I heard that I'd like you to just kind of expound on just a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So you said that people often, when you're working with them, even if you explain the process very, very well, they'll go, okay, well, I just became a co-signer or a joint account holder, or I just got a credit card because my cousin, sister, whoever, like somebody was able to help me.
Mhm.
Why didn't my score go up? Can you explain a little bit to people out there like, yeah, you did become the joint owner, right? But explain to them the difference in being the sole account holder, right? It's all about you, and then becoming a joint account holder. Because I'm sure there's a difference there on how that affects the score, but like why they don't see an instant, my score jumped 50 points because I got a credit card, you know?
Right. Okay, so obviously, first and foremost, the first time somebody applies for a credit card, yes, your credit is getting ran. You are getting that inquiry. Inquiries do and can diminish some credit scores. At that point, it is your job to build longevity with that line of credit. So when you're the sole account holder, you are making history on that card.
Hmm.
It will not until that third month, third or fourth month,
Right.
actually see an improvement. So your scores are going to kind of stay here. They're going to dip a little bit because of that inquiry, and then as you start charging and stay in good standing with that line of credit, you are going to see every time that credit card does report to the bureau, you are going to see a couple points
Right.
increase from year to year.
So that means just so that I'm following you correctly,
Hmm.
because I'm learning a lot today too about how I can talk to people about this.
Yep.
Just because you get a card, contrary to popular belief, from what I'm hearing you saying, is you need to use that card. You need to
Yeah.
put some money on it. Now, just inexperience, and I'm sure there's like both sides of this are probably true, but what have you seen in your experience? If you charge something on a card, should you pay the entire balance off every month, or should you allow a little bit to stay there to show that there is a balance on the card and make you could make a little bit over what your payment is, but if there's a balance there, does that help you, or does it matter if you pay it all off? Have you seen a difference in how the scores move?
Yeah, so I typically advise one of two things. I will absolutely, especially somebody that has never had a card, I always say, don't go max it out. Don't go take a trip across the world, have this huge balance, and now all of a sudden all you're doing is trying to whittle away that balance.
Yeah.
Go and put 20 bucks in gas. Go and do 50 bucks at the grocery store. Do something that's attainable, something that you already know is in your checking account,
Hmm.
because as soon as you charge in a couple days, yeah, pay it off. Pay the entire balance off.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you get in that realm, that system of doing a small charge and a small payoff and just kind of get yourself in that position at the point where maybe you do, let's say, have to get a set of new tires, or all of a sudden you do have a medical bill or something to put on there that's a little bit more than just your basic 20 or 30 bucks.
Yeah.
At that point, yeah, do the minimum. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to be having interest charged to it. But as long as you do the minimum, that's where that utilization percentage or that utilization factor.
Yeah.
We obviously want to make sure that you're not, if your credit limit is $500, you're not keeping it at 450 and 400.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you have a balance, bring it back down to 3, bring it back down to 200. Keep it below that 50%
Hmm.
utilization.
So if you bring the balance, so that's I'm glad you said that. So if the balance was $500, if the recurring balance on that was 250 or lower, then that's okay, right? It's
Hmm.
okay to make the minimum, you're good. But helping people understand that, and it's hard, right? It's a $5,000 limit card. Nobody typically has $2,500 to $3,000 to throw on it, because the average consumer is going to go, well, if I had that much money, I wouldn't use the credit card. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I got
Right.
it, but the best you can do to get it below 50% is good, even if you leave that balance, right?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to have willpower and accountability.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, yes, you said it right. You have a $5,000, max. It is easy to want to spend that.
Hmm.
Anybody wants to do that,
Yeah.
but
I need that
yes,
TV.
yes, you do. You have to. You do. You have to be determined to not put yourself in those situations,
Well, I
or at
think it's
least not
harder for
now.
the people that you help, though, right? Because if you think about it, once you're in this journey, I'm sure, credit counseling is just like any counseling, right? Like, you're not a counselor, but you're there to help them. So I'm sure, like, okay, guys, you're able to get this credit card,
Yep.
but remember what got you in the position when we talked the first time. So I'm sure it's even more important in what you do. And this is why it makes it so, I guess you could call it admirable, but it makes it so unique in the industry that you work in. Because I'm sure that you got to take a little extra time with those people and call them more often to be like, I'm just making sure that you guys are still being responsible, and you have self control, you have that willpower. Remember, it's this limit, but don't go over this. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of those conversations that are had, because obviously, if anybody's had issues like that in the past, it's very, very tempting to go back to what you did before. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, spending money on credit cards is like any other thing that like you love to do, and then you walk away from it. It's hard not to kind of drift back. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's difficult, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I, I'm a hard love. So I will, like I said, support, encourage, empathize, understand. But when I put down the hammer and I said, you have to do this or you're not getting pre approved for your house,
Yeah.
you're not getting your scores up. At that point, I do. Like, I always use the phrase, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink.
Yeah.
And I have to have that for my own self, just self-esteem, because it does it's a touchy subject and you
Yeah.
want to do everything to be able to help everybody, but all I can do when it comes down to it is guide, give resources, jump on calls with these creditors, these collections. I've done that weekly. I'm always on a 3-way call talking to them, getting them. We're not paying a single dime until we know we're going to get a letter from you on letterhead stating that once this balance is settled, this is no longer going to be reporting to the credit bureaus. It's going to be deleted or whatever verbiage needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get, because every call is recorded, and I get an agreed yes and agreed yes on both parties. We go ahead and make the payment. We get that letter within 24
Yeah.
hours. I submit it to the bureaus and it's deleted off their credit report.
Yeah, again, that right there as well. I'm just telling you, man. Like, it's just the more and more we talk today, is the more and more you realize that your willingness to help people is the reason you do what you do, and it's not because, just like news flash, you're not going to get paid more money if you help somebody fix their credit score. You're not
I
going
don't charge
to,
anybody for what I do.
but
I do it
that's my
solely.
point. You're not going to get paid more money. And here's
Yep.
the reality to anybody that's listening to this today: it's already a long enough process to purchase a home. But when you take somebody that's willing to help you, like you're doing, Whitney, and you help someone through that process, I don't think they realize how much time. And this isn't to sound bad, but it's reality. I don't think they understand how much time you don't have to do that. Like, you're adding time in for these people to do it. And so I'm sure that when you have that first conversation and you tell them, look, if we have to have this conversation more than once after this,
Hmm.
I think we're going to move forward. But I think I would imagine most people are appreciative, and they try to stick to the plan, especially if they're serious about purchasing a home, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, again, I, there's no time, like, there's only certain amount of hours in the day where you can even call creditors or look up interest rates or help people get pre-qualified. Like that is like, everybody says they want more time. Like, we just wish that some of these companies would work the same that we do, like, be open, be
Hmm.
available. But they
Yep.
close at 5, and if you're
Yep.
not if you're not there at 5, you can't get it. So I mean, it's a hard, I'm sure it's a hard rack if you go through this for a long time and then, it doesn't work out. But I'm sure you have more success with the program than you do not. Otherwise, otherwise we wouldn't still be talking about it, right?
Yeah. It's definitely extremely satisfying. And I've had two just in July that I've been working with, one for 11 months and one just under 9 months. And both came from a situation where when they initially applied, were nowhere near where they needed to be. And both of them a week apart, closing finally,
Yeah,
one in their second home, one a first time,
that's awesome.
was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty darn cool.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
is.
it's a rewarding experience, so that's like your why. A lot of people in the real estate industry, in certain companies you work in, will tell you, what's your why do you do this? And I used to be like, what do you mean, why do I do it? Like, what's the reason you are going to do what you do? And I would go, well, I'm doing, and it's cliche answers, right? Cliche answers. Like, I'm doing it for my family. Like, well, what got me is, a lot of times those people would say, well, you can't say that. Why are you doing it? And I'm thinking, well, I do it. That's why I'm doing it. Like, there's no selfish reason for me. And so that's kind of like the point I'm getting to is, it has nothing to do with Whitney, right? It has everything to do with whoever that individual is, that their family can now live in a home that they can say is theirs.
Mhm.
There's the reward right there. Has
Yeah.
nothing to do with me. You're like in the background. They'll never forget what you did for them, but you're definitely not center stage, because I'm telling, like, when you see people in that situation and they're able to do that, it's like they're walking down the aisle to get married again. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
pride that they have that they finally made it through. And I'm sure you get a lot of Christmas cards every year.
Or
Hmm.
edible arrangements or
Yeah,
gift card. Yes.
absolutely. And I mean, here's the deal: you've built a lifelong relationship, friend,
Mhm.
someone that now knows, if I'm, you've probably had to talk to people about more than credit repair, depending on the relationship that you've established. Just your ability now to help people much more than just for what your job is
Yeah.
it's definitely rewarding. I like to know that what we do, all of us together, it's part of what we do. Like, there's no competition. Let's just go help as many people as we can. So that's why I like it here. That's why I'm staying.
Yep.
That's
Agreed.
good. So let's go into like what kind of hobbies do you have? What do you like to do for fun? Is there any initiatives that you volunteer for that we can talk about today that people can maybe jump on board and help with?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. I mean, so on the fun side, I am very much involved in sand volleyball. I ref for some of our leagues up here, and am very much a participating in a lot of the tournaments, especially on the weekends. We'll have different fundraisers, or we'll have different benefits, or whatever it may be, and we'll host these tournaments, and it'll be 6-man leagues for $50 a league, very reasonable team fees, and 100% of the proceeds will go to the Susan G. Komen Foundation, or
Oh,
to
awesome.
a brother or a sister that's maybe recently passed from cancer, or whatever it may be. But it's all locally driven. It is not corporate. It is fully nonprofit. It's just
Yeah.
for locals. So we do that. Um,
Is there anything specific? So is the majority of what you help with to raise
mhm.
money for cancer, or is it just depends on whatever the charity is?
Depends on whatever the charity
Okay.
is. Like I said, it's locally driven. So you know, Jane Doe and John Smith could easily come up and say, hey, this is, what we're doing, or hey, it's around the Christmas time, or hey, it's going back to school. Let's do a
Yeah.
drive for the teachers,
Yep.
supplies, food drive, coat drive, things like that. And so a lot of the time it's just simply being involved and gathering teams together, and of course participating, or being there to help cook or ref, or whatever it
Yeah,
may be.
super
But
cool.
yeah, yeah,
And
pretty
so
cool.
that's in Louisville, right? In
Yep,
Kentucky.
I'm here in
So
Kentucky. Yep.
is there a name of that place where you can go and people can sign up for these charity tournaments, or kind of keep an eye out just in case they're in the area and they want to help?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a bar volleyball court. So it's called Jtown
They
Beach.
all are.
Um, yes, and so it is open 7 days a week. We do leagues Sunday through Friday, and then Saturday is more of an open play. But yeah, you can get it on Facebook. It just J Dash Town Beach, and search it on Facebook. And obviously,
Cool.
they put up a lot of their events, and
Yeah.
so whether it's just participating in a league, or doing it for a fundraiser, or coming by for various festivals. We just had a J-Town Beer Festival just about 2 weeks ago, and so we had a bunch of activities and prizes and cooking, and so yeah,
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's good
absolutely.
for everybody to know where they can go, even if you want to do your own, just like you said, right?
Hmm.
Like I can reach out and get it. That's a good deal.
Yep,
So
yep.
yeah,
We actually have a banner there. Mutual of Omaha donated a banner, so my information's on there as well, and all of will set you up for success.
yeah,
So
no, absolutely. And even if it doesn't mean success for borrowing money today, we can definitely help you drink some beers and play some volleyball.
heck yeah.
There'll be some kind of accomplishment at the end, I promise. Yeah. So what else do you have planned for your future? I mean, you're doing what you're doing now. You're obviously doing very, very great. You're involved, you're helping people. So the future for you, what do you feel like it looks like the next couple years? Where do you want to see yourself?
So I am involved in a couple different separated teams, or segregated teams, within Mutual of Omaha, and obviously Matt and I are on one of them. So we're on our VA Elite team.
Yep.
I'm also on a Zillow co-marketing team as well, and being here in Louisville, and the only branch in Kentucky. One thing, especially being 2 years in, that I've really gravitated to is feeling very diverse, on both the hosting of different events, and social networking, and you know doing self-generated business with realtors, to participating on a awesome team that helps our veterans and helps our active military in educating realtors and consumers on the VA loan.
Yep.
And then, of course, getting the Zillow co marketing side with realtors across the nation. Um, I would love to go into more of the training. So, a lot of our new loan officers, a lot of these individuals that are either just joining for the first time or are coming from another business and things are different, things are unique.
Hmm.
But being a role model or a companion that they can lean on, that I can work with them one on one to obviously be as successful and knowledgeable as possible. So
So
that,
do they have a branch where people just train and do the mentorship side of it, or would you ever stop doing what you're doing now and just mentor people? I would imagine you want to continue doing it, right?
yeah, I mean, I would love to continue. I think continuing is going to keep me sharp.
Hmm.
It's going to keep me up with the
Yeah,
guidelines because they are ever changing. So yes, I don't know that I would ever not originate, but I would absolutely love to be a mentor, nationwide for Mutual of Omaha. I know, of course, we have branch managers that do that, and of course, we have HR, and of course, we have
sure.
you know VPs of different regions that
Hmm.
that is part of their responsibility. But even having somebody that they can kind of um, delegate different tasks to for
Sure.
new hires and whatnot,
Well,
and
I
have more
mean,
of a
HR is great. They keep you out of trouble all the time. It's what they do. Shout out HR.
trainings.
Thanks for keeping us out of trouble. They do trainings, but a lot of that
Yep.
stuff is like, hey, this company has this training program or this rule came out. Let me give you a flyer, right? Like there's a difference to because my background is in training. So there's a difference to I did this compliance training because I need to, or go ask that guy because he knows, to
Yes.
having a mentor or a
Hmm.
trainer that you have access to in order to learn, right? So that's kind of like how we did it in the military, right? Like in the Navy, whenever you would get to a new duty station, you had to either select, and if you couldn't do it fast enough, we would give you a mentor, someone that's doesn't even have to be within your job, but it's someone that can help you progress your career, become a better, let's say you were a mechanic or you were a um, like a radar guy or an information systems technician guy, like whatever you did, you needed someone that could mentor and help you grow. So
Yeah.
we're all about that. And so that's maybe a little bit of a difference than what I see as I've gotten out of the Navy and gone to a couple different industries, right? The Navy does it for free, right? Man, you
Hmm.
got to pay a lot of money and a mentorship program outside of it. So if companies were able to design somewhat of a mentorship program that partners someone up with a senior level person that's experienced just simply to learn from, like even just sitting there and watching them do the work, you're going to
Hmm.
learn. um, Still have the opportunity to go pay somebody to hold you accountable, but if you have that person that's within your company, it's like you've got that safe space, right? Because sometimes people aren't willing to ask their manager for help because they're afraid of how it's going to sound when it comes out, you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
like, I don't understand, and they're afraid they're going to get yelled at. But like I've talked to Whitney a couple times. She seems cool. She's not in charge of me. So I'm cool to be embarrassed with her versus being embarrassed with my boss. Because I want my boss to look at me and be like, this dude, what's wrong with him? You know?
Well, and as you get higher up the hierarchy, they obviously have more and more individuals or employees or staff or people to oversee. I mean,
Yeah.
and so sometimes, depending on the size of a branch or the size of the region or other responsibilities that these managers have, yes, they're available for a phone call or an email response back or a text, but it alleviates having to, like you said, feel uncomfortable or uneasy about asking a higher up about a silly question, which in my mind there is no silly
Yeah, there is no
question, but
silly question, but there is
right.
something to that as well about like, okay, I don't want to bother my boss. He's
Yep.
really busy, right? And
Yep.
they are busy. They're super busy. When you get to that level, you are a professional firefighter. Let's just
Yep.
put it like that. Like your job is to put out all the fires that start every day. And so to take away, and that to your point, small question, meaningless question, what you feel to them actually might turn out to be a super important question that everybody needs to learn because
Hmm.
even the basics will get you in trouble, right? So, I think the other side of the coin there is like people don't want to bother their manager as well because they're too busy. Or it also gives, I don't know how you've seen it in the past, but like you have managers that are busy and they're you got a team of 15 people That could be 50 deals going at one time, and you're got to keep that all straight. Like your mindset and focus, the highway you're driving down is all the deals that we're trying to close to make sure that the consumers that we're assisting are able to have a worry-free process, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not much room for error there to jump in and do things. So that turns into the manager doesn't always answer your email or answer your phone call when you call. And now the
Mm-hmm.
worker's like, oh, that person, like, they're not even good. They don't ever talk to me. But you have no idea what they're doing on the other end, right? So
Right.
I think
Right.
having some kind of thing like that where it's like, hey, if you have any small questions, call Whitney. She can answer them for you. But I
Mm-hmm.
think we do, other than that, I think we do a pretty good job on us. You know, group chats are a great thing.
Yep.
The ability to just ask a question and anybody can just jump on and answer when they're
Yeah.
available. Those are great learning resources. But there is a lot to be said to the comfort level of having that one person that you can call and talk to, right? Especially if you're frustrated or lost. Because it's hard to display that in a question in a group chat or, you know, in a team meeting, right? Because that's where everybody's watching. So if you've got
Right.
that person that you can talk to, it just a lot of times it comes into a trust factor as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's all good. I think the sky's the limit for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's so that means you would stay there? Like you want to stay where you're at? Is there any way of you wanting to move into the great state of Texas? We're pretty
Well,
awesome
in
down here.
fact, I have been presented this option, but
Oh yeah?
I have. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about, moving and, I mean, depending on, am I going to be moving across the nation to do exactly what I'm doing? Is there an opportunity for me to move to Texas or to Virginia or
Sure.
wherever because of a unique opportunity that's being presented like nowhere else? Yes. I mean, whatever I can do, even if it's seasonally or temporarily or, um, I'm there, whatever,
Sure.
to build rapport with a
No, yeah, that's
major brokerage
yeah.
or open up a new branch or,
Yep.
whatever I can do. But yeah, yeah, of course, traveling, absolutely.
Man, I don't even know. I don't think I could leave Texas. I'm just saying. We're pretty awesome. You can just look at the stats. Everybody wants to live here. It's 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 bananas in Texas right now.
Hmm.
We have more buyers than homes. That's what happens a lot right now. But
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes.
that's good. I mean, that just means that you're open to opportunities, and that's always a good thing. Anyone that's open to opportunities is going to work for them, and I just, I'm excited to see where it takes you because just knowing you for this little bit of time, I see that you're willing to help, you're willing to reach out, and I personally know, and you don't have to confirm because I don't think you ever will because that's not who you are. There's probably been times where new people on the team have just been like, I got a question. And you've seen it and you're like, I really don't have time for this. But then right away, I get if you need something, let me know. I know that not everybody has that time, but that's what makes you unique, especially with the clients that you work with and just the way that you do the job. It's appreciative for sure.
And to rephrase, it's not that we don't have time for this. It's questions just it's life. I mean, you could literally have an easy morning until noon, and then all of a sudden, five realtors are asking the exact same
Yeah.
question at the exact same time, and it's urgent for every single one of them. It's a mental game. You have
Yeah.
to be able to breathe, and you take one task at a time. So. No, I love the questions. I love jumping on shared screens. I love being able to answer questions or go over scenarios or whatever it may be. It's just about the timing of it is all it is.
For sure. That's what I mean by I don't have time for this because everybody's done that, right? Everybody's done it. Doesn't matter. Like you could
Yeah.
be looking at the computer, see something, and not even look at it and be like, I really don't have time for this. You have no idea what it is. And then you look and you're like, oh, I got time for that. And then you jump
Right.
in. But, you
I got
know,
time to be on Facebook for the next 15 minutes, but
yeah.
I forgot to call those last. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
no, but that's true, right? It's true. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Tons of people will look and go, I have no time in the day. I have
No.
none, no time. I don't have time to do anything. I'm guilty of this. I got no time, right? And then people will ask you. And this is what they got me like this in the Navy, and it's probably still true. I know it's still true today. And they go, okay, how many hours did you work today? You're like, 15. They're like, 15 for sure. So within those hours, if your job is to be a lender, a realtor, a construction worker, that means at no point today did you eat lunch. At no point today did you just get on the phone and bullshit. At no point did you look at Facebook and all these things. And you're like, oh, I did that a couple times. You're like, uh huh. So let's
Uh-huh.
look at it. And we did an
Yep.
exercise like way back in the day when I was in the Navy in recruiting because they were trying to prove a point, right? And they did. They did. They go, okay, let's look at it, right? How many hours a day did you do this? How many hours a day did you do that? And when we got done, they were like, the reality is you guys are only working 3 hours a day.
You may be
Legitimate
at
3 hours a
work,
day.
physically there.
Yeah, yeah. That's what they said. You're at work, you're wearing the uniform, you walked
Mm-hmm.
in the door, you did that for
Mm-hmm.
15 hours, but you really only worked 3 hours today. And you were like, no, I didn't. I got yelled at all day. And they're like, it's probably because you weren't working. I was
Working.
like, ah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's
All right.
that time crunch is definitely it's definitely interesting. And then when you realize for yourself that like you're like, man, I fall into that. Then you're like, oh goodness, that well, I need to go back and relook at how this goes. But yeah, well, it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday, and I know that you have tons to do. Thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. We'll do it again. If you ever have anything that you want to
Absolutely.
talk about, jump on, be a part of. This thing's going to go for a long, long time. So anytime you want to talk, just let me know. We can jump on and do
Cool.
it. And if you ever need anything, let me know. Not not if there's I mean there's not much I could probably help with way down here in Texas up to where you're at, but if there's anything at all, just let me know.
Absolutely. I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, Matt.